is BYD going to kill Tesla? No, like Tesla's more than a self-sustaining business. And that's like, it's still the only fully self-sustaining battery electric vehicle company on planet Earth. No one else, including BYD, has solved the profitable, compelling electric vehicle puzzle.
So let's talk Tesla first. Tesla Model Y was released in China. By the way, there's rumors now that it's about to be produced in Giga Berlin, and sometime next week or 2 weeks from now, it might actually be produced here in the United States. The rumors are building that that is actually happening. That would be an incredible feat by Tesla to be able to create a brand new car and have it pretty well go global within a month. Every factory that they have is starting to produce it. That transition is amazing. But in China, it's been around for 10 days. And today, the order number, if you try to order a Tesla Model Y, the new one, it's now, it looks like that it's about, that tells you based on order number, that's probably exceeded 100,000 units. This is kind of like the information that people are sharing based on when they order their Model Y. Here's another bit. The registration number is reached over 100,000 units in just 10 days, a record-breaking success for a car that hasn't even arrived at the stores for display yet. Yeah, what's your evaluation of how well Tesla's doing in China?
I mean, that is a phenomenal number. If you think about it, Giga Shanghai last year, we'll just use, nice round numbers. They sold roughly 1 million units, and that's domestic and export. So 100,000 units of orders in 10 days is roughly 10% of last year's total production. So that means in less than or just over 3 months, they could potentially sell out the entire, book out the capacity for the whole year if they're able to sustain those level of orders. Now, I think that, we are probably in a little bit of a bubble. I don't expect us to continue to get 100,000 new orders every 10 days for the next 3 months. But it shows you that there's definitely a lot of pent up demand for this car. People love the Model Y. They were probably waiting a little bit to order a new Model Y because this was pretty obvious that this was about to happen. So consumers who were knowledgeable were probably delaying. So it's, I think this leads into the likelihood that we probably saw depressed sales a little bit last year for the Model Y of what the overall demand would be. A little bit of Osborning going on, but honestly, like this isn't a bad amount of Osborning. We were able to, end the year fairly well. So I would say this is definitely a manageable amount of Osborning for the company, and I appreciate how well Tesla has managed this. On to your point about potentially rolling out the upgraded Model Y across all 3 factories within the matter of, say a month, even 2 months. Like that's way faster than we saw the Model 3 refresh roll out across the rest of the world. And it's funny that, it's one of the things that I really enjoy about being in the Tesla community is that they execute very, very well, but our expectations of how they're going to execute are always, out. Like we continue to move the bar and say, hey, you executed here in the past, and then you always get better. And so now we're going to say that, it's only going to take 4 weeks to start production of this across all 3, major factories between Austin, Shanghai, and Berlin. I like that that's the rumors. I like that that's the expectation. I don't know if we'll quite hit that, but even if we don't, it'll still be way faster than the Highland update. And I think that it's great also for consumers. Like there's just a lot of excitement going on around this. And I think it implies really good things for this year. The other thing that also kind of surprises me on the level of orders for Model Y right now is I still think that we're only a couple weeks to months away from an announcement of an entirely new vehicle.
Right.
And so the fact that people are this exuberant about ordering this new model, like, yes, it's a new Model Y, but hey, it's still just a Model Y. Like it's better value, all these things. Great. but like there's probably going to be a brand new vehicle that is announced and then begins to ship here in the not too distant future. And people are not necessarily waiting for that to put in orders. It certainly doesn't look like based on the order rate that we're seeing. So it's like green lights ahead for automotive production for Tesla this year. I think that they are going to be definitely supply limited.
Like you said, Model Y is so critical for the company. It's the best-selling car in the world, not just electric vehicles, but the best-selling car, regardless of gas or not. And they had to hit this out, and it looks like they hit it right. Beautiful car, new model. This is even the launch version that they're selling in China. 100,000 of the launch version, which is packed with a lot more features and a lot more price and all that.
Yep.
So special design. That's why it's like so well done, and they did a great job separating the new Model Y for the existing Model Y, and that we have not, as you said earlier, we're not necessarily seeing cannibalization of people wanting to steal the old one or whatever it was. It was such a well done job. Okay, Tesla's doing really well Model Y. Now they compare them to BYD. So here's what happened in 2024. In Q4, BYD delivered 595,000. This is the pure electric cars, not including the hybrids. So they brought their total of BEV sales, battery electric vehicles, to 1.76 million cars. So BYD sold 1.76 million cars. They did grow 12%. Tesla, 1.79 million cars, just barely above. So let's say that they're about equal. And when they say negative 1%, well, why is that? Again, price point matters. Imagine that. So this is, Tesla's done very, very well in China. Things are going really well. This is the Seal. That's the closest competitor to them. But otherwise, it's really Zeekr that is a premium solution. They don't really compete. Now, having said that, people keep saying, watch out, Tesla, the BYD killers here, when it's actually the opposite, isn't it? Because we just said that in 5 months, in a few months from now, Tesla's about to release a more affordable vehicle in a $30,000 range.
Yeah.
What's going to happen to BYD then, right?
Yeah. Well, and let's go back into the reason for concern for BYD, and that is that they have an incredible debt load that is, far above the debt load that has been reported, which makes the sustainability of their ability to continue to grow their vehicle volumes a lot more questionable. That said, I really am a fan of the fact that BYD was able to deliver that many electric cars last year. I think that they are helping to accelerate the advent of the transition to a sustainable energy transportation economy. There's really two different pathways that a company can take to innovate in a disruptive way. The classic way is the way that Clayton Christensen laid out in his book, where it starts out as low-end disruption, where you start with those cheap, $10,000 battery electric vehicles, and then you make them better and better and better and better and better until finally you're able to replace the higher performing models of the competitors previously. There is a less known but equally valid path to do disruptive innovation. That's the one that Tesla took, where you start at the top end, you exploit a niche for the Tesla, it was the Roadster. You solve really hard technical problems there, and then you grow into a cheaper but larger volume segment from there,
Bottom up,
and then
top
do it
down.
again. And so, that's really the two different paths that BYD and Tesla have taken. Both of them can work. The problem for BYD is that their method is a lot more capital intensive than Tesla's, and they have always been a lot less profitable. They continue to be a lot less profitable, but they have the benefit of having the huge support of the Chinese Communist Party, who really, really, really wants China as a nation to win at having an industrial base. And electric vehicles is just one of the areas that they want to have a world-leading industrial base in. And so the country as a whole is subsidizing and supporting and investing in this future manufacturing capacity and capability. And so I think that's while the economics of BYD as a business are questionable, I don't necessarily know that we're going to see BYD as a company collapse or dissolve, or even if we do, something nearly equally as powerful will rise to take its place almost instantly, because this is an industry and a technology that is a strategic priority for the CCP, for China as a country. And it's going to continue to be that way for the foreseeable future, unless we see some sort of cataclysmic shift in the political leadership of that nation.
Agree
And
with
so
you.
I think that can continue. But the other, like, Tesla is more than profitable. And so is BYD going to kill Tesla? No, like, Tesla's more than a self-sustaining business. And that's like, it's still the only fully self-sustaining battery electric vehicle company on planet Earth. No one else, including BYD, has solved the profitable, compelling electric vehicle puzzle. And
Yeah.
so those two facts, who they make me concerned for is literally everybody else. That you have the full weight of the Chinese government behind BYD, and then you have Tesla, this unstoppable juggernaut of self-sustaining innovation that continues to just snowball into this bigger and bigger and bigger behemoth. And these two twin boulders are rolling towards every other auto company on planet Earth, regardless of whether they make electric vehicles or gasoline vehicles. And so that is the real reality of what is happening. And this is one of the reasons it makes it so, like, if all you had to do was figure out a niche to survive in to make electric vehicles like Rivian did, that would be one thing. When you're competing against Tesla, that's hard but not impossible. When you're competing against Tesla and you're trying to carve out your niche, and then you have to compete with a Chinese company while the Chinese government just shovels cash into a furnace that they can afford to just lose money hand over fist 100 times faster than you can, how do you survive? And so this is why, I'm afraid for companies like Rivian and Lucid. And obviously, like, GM is toast. Ford is like, Jim Farley's great and I wish them success, but like, there's just nothing that you can do. This is like having an asteroid that is just hurtling towards your company, and all you can do is look at it and hope that your water gun can save you at the last second from the most painful death possible.
Okay, well, let's report on the BYD. You're right. I mean, theoretically, BYD, because of their volume, right, 1.7 million cars sold of electric vehicles, that should reduce costs for them. But it's not showing up, and they're hiding it in their supply chain, and they have ballooning debt. So there's a research firm called GMT Research from Hong Kong that basically said that BYD's reliance on financing from working capital has masked surging debt levels at the Chinese electric vehicle giant. Chinese EV markets, BYD's net debt may be closer to 44 billion, 12 times more than they have said in their balance sheets, because suppliers have had their own accounts queried by exchanges. Like they're pushing it down to suppliers. And you can see this because they're now taking an average of 275 days to pay their suppliers. This is 2023. Imagine what's happened in 24. This is almost like a year, not quite 9 months, but imagine that, right? That they're taking that long to pay a supplier. Well, they need to survive. But like you say, very likely China government is supporting them as well. So the actual debt is 12 times more than what's stated on their balance sheet. This is the claim here, reaches 323 billion yuan. That's mid 2024. And then, so in comparison, the market cap of BYD right now is 105 billion. So that's what they're worth. But if their debt really is at 44 billion, that's crazy. So let's watch this short clip from Autoline and see what they said on this.
And yet, GMT Research, which is based in Hong Kong, says that BYD is sitting on a mountain of hidden debt. In fact, it says BYD is addicted to debt. While BYD's annual report says it has $3.7 billion of debt, GMT says the real number is more like 44 billion. And it says BYD is using financial sleight of hand to hide that debt. GMT says the ballooning debt comes from BYD providing financing for its supply chain. But the terms of that financing can be harsh. BYD took an average of 273 days to pay its suppliers in 2023. While suppliers can borrow money from other sources, by using their money BYD owes them as collateral, it still drives up their cost of doing business. BYD will probably continue its success story, but if what GMT reports is true, shareholders should be aware that the risk of their investment is a lot higher than they realize.
Okay, so he also agrees that they're going to continue, right? Because like I said, they're too big to fail. Government supporting them. Here's a nuanced post by Jeff Lutz. He's one of the greatest, smartest people that knows a lot about supply chain specifically. He said this, as stated before, we don't know the true working capital of most of these Chinese OEM auto companies. How much channel inventory do they have? Factory inventory, supplier owned, contractual liabilities. A few may be in fine shape. Many of them have extended payment terms owed to suppliers out to 270 days in the case of BYD. Suppliers, they are also financing. See the problem? They could come out of it, but it's not clear how or how deep the rabbit hole goes. There are 3 sources involved in reporting on payment days and debt, including Bloomberg, but maybe all 3 have it wrong. So yeah, it's true. Like it's like becoming more. It's more and more outlets are reporting this. It's more likely to be true than false. But he basically says CNBC, Fox, these guys ignore or are incapable and just clap like seals when they see a quarterly units number and do zero due diligence beyond that. BYD enables them to put Tesla in a headline with the news so it drives more clicks. Why let potential insolvency stop the gravy train? They're incapable of investigative reporting unless the subject is Tesla.
As an investor, I just don't understand why people in the West invest in Chinese companies at all. If you this is the recurring theme of almost any successful Chinese company is, oh yeah, and there's some financial shenanigans going on here. And that's just the way that business is done. They don't have the oversight here. They're in bed with the government in a way that distorts the actual market viability of the companies. And this is just one of the reasons I don't invest in Chinese companies ever. I haven't, and I'm not going to start now, is because this kind of issue is lurking beneath the hood more often than not.